So, sixth webinar of the cycle, Revitalizing Rural Spaces. Some of you are here probably the first time, others are here from the very beginning. We are facing the issue of spaces regeneration in non-urban area within the Place Out project. Today is the webinar about participatory processes and engagement in the regeneration of spaces process. The speaker of today is Gregory Dianzenza from the Democratic Society, which I thank. I think, Gregory, you can start immediately so we can go deeper in the topic. Thank you for to be here.
Yeah, I will share my screen. So, hi everyone. Like Stefano said, I'm Gregory Dianzenza, and I will be the presenter of today on the topic, of course, participatory processes and co-design, conducting this co-design process, engaging stakeholders at both local and EU levels. So, like I said, Gregory Dianzenza, working for Democratic Society. We're based in Brussels, but we are working a bit everywhere in Europe, Spain, Italy, Germany, etc. So we have quite an experience on working on local level, but also EU level. Why we are invited here, or why we are working within the Place Out initiative, is because we really believe in forging a new way of the modern democracy, fit for challenges of the different regions. That's why we wanted also to have our opinion and our insights in this project. Our organization is focused on building democratic infrastructures, and this I will present later on during the presentation. And we are also research oriented. So what we do is always with the goal in mind to give a report that can be used by multilateral governments or even by local governments. So before even delving into it, I just want to speak to you. I want to read from you. And I had two icebreakers, just shortly, let's say 6 minutes, with the first question. Because you're all from different regions, I wanted to know which tradition from your region makes you most proud and why. So maybe that's the first question you can add in the chat. And then I can also a bit get to know you, even though it's only 2 hours, but get to know you in a short moment. And I think, Jose, if you have like part of answers, maybe you can read them, because I don't have the chat in here. Then I can
Sure.
a bit know what's happening. Thank you.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm reading. I'm here in the chat. Don't worry. Arthur said Maracatu de Baque Solto. And from the first question, and from the second one, what do you think you can learn? He says power of resilience. He says.
Okay, nice. That's a good one. Maybe just 3 more, then we can advance. If someone, 3 people can add something in the chat, then it would be nice to have also other opinions. Yeah, I see people doubting, not risking. Yeah, no worries. Then we'll go on. Yeah, for today, the agenda is, of course, I will first present the tools that is needed to create a co-design process at local and EU level. During the presentation, I will go from theory to practice. That means that I will give you the tools, the handles that as an organization that you need, and then we can develop with practical exercises that we have done at Democratic Society and best practices that we have done that we learn from and we are also a bit proud of. So in the first part, I will also explain the importance of participation in decision-making processes for youth organizations, mainly today. Also, a short introduction of the formats that exist. We will also explore like the EU and local perspectives, what we have learned as an organization from Democratic Society, working on both levels. And lastly, and very important for me also, is the importance of facilitation and inclusion. I will explain you later why, but an event is made or breaks with a good facilitation and with a good way of including all people.
Gregory, before you continue,
Yes.
we have two answers for the questions. If you want, I can read it. Yeah.
Yes.
Donka Hirstova says that a favorite Bulgarian tradition is Sedianka. I don't know if I'm pronouncing really well. Gathering people in a circle and talking about their problems.
Oh, that's a good one. It's also it's perfect also with the team with the team of today with participatory processes, because it's also getting people together and making sure that we have a solution to our problems or our thresholds. So that's a very good one. Thank you, Danka, for saying this.
Sure. And Anne Cortaberria, she says, Basque country, proud of the Basque language. And for the second question, she say, I will say many things about this, so learning about diversity in general.
Oh, nice. I don't know if you watch football, but I saw that Atletico Bilbao had won a prize, so I think a lot of Basque people are very proud this weekend. So thank you for sharing this. Why a design process, why participating in design making processes is very important, because I think everyone here is attending because they believe that democracy is involving citizens beyond voting. We want to have opinions from citizens that go beyond that one day or those special days when everyone goes to the electoral poll. We want to have them, and we want to have inclusive opinions, inclusive insights that also reflects the reality of the people that are living in different regions, living in cities, but here for place out living in more urban regions. But also participatory processes are also an opportunity to have a constructive dialogue between, let's say the power, so the people that decide, but also the people that are living the decisions that are being deciding above them. So it gives us an opportunity to empower citizens, to give them agency to effectuate change, to make change very visible. Thirdly is, it's a bit cliche, but I have to say it, it's knowledge is power. More people, organizations, individuals know about what they can chase, more they will be involved in those processes, and more they will be passionate about attending these processes. So when they know how the decisions can be taken place and where they will happen, they will also know how they can be involved and which way they can decide the things. This is also a form of power. And like I said, inclusion, and inclusion part, I will really delve into it later on when I will give the examples. It's very important to also have the different layers of society to complete each other, also complete the gaps. I know inclusion in the current days, it's quite difficult as a word. It's something that's it's becoming a polarized world, because Some people find it difficult what it means, inclusion. Do we necessarily have to make it a political decision? So there is a bit of discussion on that, on inclusion, what it means. But we can discuss about it, and we also have a debate on that later on. So for youth organization, what we have seen at DEMSOC, we're also working with youth organization in different networks, is having youth organizations with us is also a wide range of backgrounds, but it's also a lot of energy, new ideas, innovation. And for this, practically for this, is also a lot of youth are also engaged and passionate about their region. They're really fan of their region, and they want to bring change in their region. So we have also noticed this with the networks that we have, the different participatory and co-design processes that we organize, is that bring youth to the table, is bringing innovation, also fresh perspectives. And when you plant a seed with youth organization, you plant a seed for a longer term, for being able to work on 10, 20 years together, and making sure that the plans that you've initially conducted will also be finalized. Here, I will just discuss slightly an introduction to the participatory and co-design format, but there is much more than I will give in this presentation. Therefore, also at the end of the presentation, I will say it now, you can always reach out to DEMSOC, to Democratic Society, or to me, if you need like resources or you have questions. We are always open to share our experiences that we have already had in the past. But what we have learned in the past is, of course, so engaging stakeholders. You know, participatory and co-design can differ. We as an organization, we always use the same together, but sometimes it can differ depending on the question that is being asked, the stakeholders you're working with, whether it's a local government or local authorities, whether it's multilateral authorities, or whether it's even private. With participatory process, it always takes longer. It's always a process of weeks, months, even a year or even years. I will show you later in examples. A co-design can be done in one day. You can bring organizations together, bring people together, and then design the solutions together to see on a productive, efficient way, to see if the people that are brought together can have a solution in just a short moment of time. But why we, as an organization, DEMSOC, we prefer to do the both together, because it gives us a holistic and inclusive approach, which means that you can have a moment that you have discussion, debates with the people attending those participatory processes, but together you can also design something that can last for a longer time, or for even long term. So now I will go to the examples. First example is a citizen assembly. Citizen assemblies, like you can read, is just deliberative and participatory democratic forums. So it's most of the time composed by randomly selected people coming from a region, from a country, from Europe, and then they will discuss a theme, a subject that is cross-section, a very important subject. It can be health, it can be the climate, it can be economy, etc. Which is important is that it's a random selection. It's people from everywhere, from every age, from every layer, from every background, coming together, discussing this. It's also informed decision-making. So people are coming in prepared, and most of the time they know what it is about. That's why you will see that a citizen assembly is mostly attached to local authorities, because it's giving a solution, giving an answer to a question that needs a direct involvement of citizens. And what is very important here is a neutral facilitation. Facilitators are a very important part and an essential part of making citizen assemblies work. What we have learned working on citizen assemblies is that when the facilitation is a bit weak, or even you see citizens have like questions, too much inquiries about the facilitation, you will see that the citizen assembly will not make it, will fail. And also it's important because when citizens feel that their opinions are accepted, their opinions are validated, but also valued, the recommendations that you will give out will be very of high quality. And this is very important because the recommendations will be used by local authority or national authorities. So when working with citizens assembly, that's really the essential part, because even then you're working on complex issues that involve or that have an impact on the lives of the citizens. So I will give you immediately a case study and a working method. We, as DemSec, we have organized a citizen assembly called the Belgian Agora on Just Transition. For people that know a bit of Belgium, we have quite a complex way of working in our country, because we have 3 languages: French, Dutch, and German. So it's also attached to cultures. And here we received a question to organize a Belgian citizen assembly on just transition. Here, just transition means climate transition. So urging people to go greener. And we invited 60 Belgians to answer this question. The question was, what would just transition mean for you in your daily life? So during 4 weeks, let's say 2 months, 60 people came together from all areas in Belgium, from all places in Belgium, cities, urban, and they had this conversation with each other on how just transition can be conducted in Belgium. And this was very interesting because, and that's why I want to make the parallel with Place Out. What we did to give like a real attachment to this inquiry and to this citizens assembly, we went to all the special regions in Belgium. We went to 4 regions in Belgium, so that people that were attending the citizen assembly had the feeling that they could also see what's happening on the other side of the country. So we started with the capital, and then we went to the west side, and then we went to the east side in the French part. So the west side was the Dutch part, and people were mingling with each other, and they saw that differences were decreasing. You know, you start talking to each other, and you see that there is more similarities, more the thresholds, and the challenges are more similar than you think. And you get also to learn each other, and you learn to work with each other during those 4 weeks. So we discussed about food, the food industry, we discussed about health, we discussed about transport, discussed about housing. 4 elements that's very important if you want to talk about just transition. Afterwards, when this all was finished, we had the recommendation, and the recommendation was also sent out to the national government, but also to local governments, saying that this is what 60 Belgians think of what is needed to have a just transition in Belgium. What I thought was very important during those 4 weeks is that we also included an inclusion team. An inclusion team that was a team of 4 or 5 persons that really took time to speak to every individual, to listen to them, to see if there's something wrong, if they need some help with something. Why we did that? Because we also, during the selection, we were very keen to also add people from, I will say, from poorer background. So people that really are in need financial help. So people that would have more difficulties to be included in citizen assembly, because most of the time they don't have really a housing, they don't really have access to to this kind of spaces. So we made sure to reach out to organizations working with people without housing, people living in the street, people living in financial difficulties, to also be included and to also have their opinion valued, and also giving them the opportunity to have their opinions and insights during the fourth session. We had 60 persons in total, and those were 10 persons, so 10 persons that were invited to, so from the group, 10 persons that came from that background. And it was very interesting because we really received like valuable insights from people that have lived for 10 years in street, and what it means for them, what just transition would mean for them. Because most of the time, when you're like, for myself, I'm from quite a privileged background, you forget easily how much or how easy things are for you, like housing, eating, having food every day, etc. So now it was really a reality for everyone, for every participant, to also hear about the people that are coming from a difficult background, to see how they perceive just transition. So for us, this is how we did it, the Citizens Assembly, and when we received this inquiry. It would be also interesting for you, for me, sorry, to also have maybe later on your insights, how you would see it in your region, how you would work with that in your region. It would be interesting to also receive from you this insight. So the next format that we also use, and that can also be used, is design thinking, mostly ad hoc structures. We have a direct problem or a challenge that we want to answer immediately. So then we invite persons, mostly for one day, half of a day, to work really hands-on, brainstorming, developing something, initiatives, really very hands-on, and making sure that the session is very visual, that there are sketches, storyboards, and mood boards. And also here, make sure to facilitate the communication and ID. So here is more human-centered approach. I think every format that I will present is human-centered, but here is like more one-on-one to see if we can move very rapidly. So it's testing, it's IDs, it's going back and forth, it's designing, it's sketches, and so on. I will give you an immediate example also. We are with Democratic Society also working on a project called Life Pact, and that's a project that works on nature-based solutions. So nature-based solution means that we want to urge villages or small cities or small towns to use or to make their city partly greener. And we have this collaboration with, let's say, an elder center. So for people that are from a certain age, let's say a bit older, but also people with dementia. So with this elder center, we are working on how to make their parking lot, or let's say the business park, I can say it like this, greener, and how to make it sure that also the citizens or the elders that live in there and that go for a walk in there can also perceive it as something that is valuable and something that's great. So what did we do? We invited the nurses working in this center. We told them our project to have a conversation with people that have dementia or have cognitive issues, sometimes forget their situation, sometimes they have difficulties to remember things. But we wanted to take the challenge to see if we could present something that reminds them about the older days, in maybe a park, maybe their garden in their house, something like that. So we invited the nurses to come with us, And then we had a whole table, like you can see on the picture, like flowers, plants, and then we told the elders, can you tell me something about it? Does it remind you of something? What do you want to talk about when you see this? And we also showed on the screen, I don't think you can see, but on the screen we also showed like forest, gardens, and like soft music. And we had the discussion. And meanwhile, when we had the discussion, my colleague and I, we were like designing, we were like making sketches, making notes to see how this center could implement their ideas in their in the way that they want to green their business park or the part of the center that needs to be greener. So we had the discussion with these elders, and it was very fascinating, even though you saw sometimes the difficulties to express themselves, to explain what they wanted to say. Once we like show the images, immediately you saw them that they were thinking that they wanted to explain something. They wanted to explain something about the past. They had a garden with their children. They went to a park when they were a child, when they were with their parents, etc. So when I said the human-centered approach, this is really the human-centered approach. Like, even though the threshold of dementia was there, of the cognitive threshold was there, we managed to have a discussion with them and managed also to retrieve ideas. And that's something I also wanted to share, because it's something sometimes we don't think about, that even with those kind of thresholds, physical, mentally, you can still receive valuable ideas that can be used later on. The third format is the participatory budget, something I think in several regions is very known. I will go very fast on that. It's for people a direct way to have to say to the local authorities how public money should be spent. I think this is very essential, and it's also very used by youth organizations, in that sense that they can say immediately to their authorities, yeah, we think as youth organizations that this is how you should work with the money that you have. And participatory budgets, most of the time it's really big amounts. Gives citizens resources also to prioritize activities or changes in their cities or region, and also to have a transparent way of communicating about money, and also have an oversight on how the money is spent. And the essential elements about that is really the ideas and the screening of proposals. So the back and forth of the local authorities with the people that are interested, whether it is the ideas that they're giving, whether it's a screening, it's all in the process is very transparent. But you see that it gives also a lot of citizen energy and trust when they are included in those kind of processes. And we have worked on the participatory budget on the city of Antwerp. 10 years ago, they didn't really have a mechanism working on that. We proposed to them what we call in Dutch burgerbegroting. Burgerbegroting, I can translate it to English. It's like really the citizen budget. So it's 1 million of a citizen budget giving to people living in Antwerp to submit their IDs, work with their IDs, and have an opportunity to change their neighborhood. As you can see on the left side of the slide, it's why I think it's very interesting about this format is that most of the time you see that the youth is the one going for it. Are the ones that are very interested to submit their ideas, because it's very practical, and it's a very practical way of changing their neighborhood, adding sports attractions, adding youth centers, etc. So that's something we have worked on also. And now the last format, and this is one that is also very keen to myself, that I have very really I'm passionate about, is the democratic network structures that we take time to put in place. Why? Because it's very long term. What we decide today, and for the other formats, it's more difficult, because what you decide today can vanish. It's a bit harsh to say it like this, but can disappear if there is another political will. If there is another political will, it can disappear. But with a structure, it takes time, and it's also the goal is also to have it long term. And also the frameworks that we are building is also often decentralized. So we're working together, but most of the time the impact is on your level. So it can be that the EU has advised that several organizations need to work together, but the impact that is happening is on your level, on the local or the urban or the regional level. So which is very important, because that makes also that the impact, the long-lasting or the long-term goal or the long-lasting impact will also be on the local level, which is sometimes different with the other formats that I've chosen to present today. What is essential with these structures is the peer-to-peer control, because you're working with several partners on a specific goal, which is often also overarching theme. So it's the way that you also can go back and forth with the partners to have a real feedback on things that are positive, but also things or elements that can be changed. But also the team is cross-domain. So oftentimes, and I will show it. The teams will be something about climate, health, or even democracy. So here I will showcase two examples. The first example is it's called Net for Dem. It's networks of networks for democracy, and that's a network that has been created by 12 partners working within the European Union, and with the goal to innovate and to change and to bring change to democracy. And here, why it's important this is because most of the organizations that are working on the first one are also youth organizations. So we thought I thought it would be important to also showcase this example, because when we are talking about democracy, there are several definitions about that. There are also several realities about that. So establishing this structure will also give us the opportunity to give the insight to the European Union to see how democracy needs to evolve for the forthcoming years, for the forthcoming even decades to come. Because if you're being honest also, and that's maybe a small personal opinion, is that also democracy in Europe is also under danger. So this kind of network, like I said, long-term, with a long-term goal, with a really specific theme, democracy, gives us the opportunity to delve into complex questions, complex inquiries, and also give extensive solutions to the challenges, but also to the questions that we may have as organizations and as youth, for example, very specifically as youth. And secondly, we have net zero cities. This is a democratic structure on which we are working on with several cities in Europe. And we want to accelerate the net zero emissions by 2030. But why is this important? This democratic structure is because you already see that it's a long-term, with a long-term goal, 2030. And also we also include the youth organization, because they are already living the climate change, or the climate tribulations, or the climate challenges that will be felt in the coming decades. So including them in those kind of networks gives them the opportunity to discuss what needs to be done. I can give an example. I also had a discussion with people from Net Zero Cities on tourism, something I didn't know that can be also very negatively for youth. Is that tourism in some of the cities in Spain is very negative, because the housing prices go up. There is no opportunity for youth to live in these cities, no opportunities for youth to be able to rent something, etc. So you see that including them in those kind of networks also gives them the opportunity to share their insights and share their concerns on several challenges that are being lived in several regions in Europe, but also in their regions or their cities. I think I will take maybe a break here, just because I think I've talked a lot, just to have some questions, feedback, maybe also debates with each other. That would be great also to have maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Hello?
Yes.
Yep. I can't find the little hand here to raise my hand. Sorry that I am just jumping the mic.
No worries.
Hello. Hello. My name is Bernardo. I'm talking from the Netherlands. And my doubt maybe is a bit too technical. The division you did between design thinking and network-based solution. And I am a designer myself. I work with organizations who facilitating design thinking. And I got familiar with the architecture concept of natural-based solutions. But here you're presenting in a quite distinctive way. So I was wondering if that was due to your stakeholders, you want to make that distinction, or has to do with the way you apply the methodologies?
Okay.
I don't know if it's too technical. Maybe we can take offline.
No, I will try to give the perspective that we had as a democratic society, and then maybe see if that matches with an answer that I can give to you. So for nature-based solutions, we are working with several partners. And we have the city of Leuven, so the local authority, city of Leuven. We have also people that are really specialized in what is practically nature-based solutions. And then you have us, DEMSOC, so Democratic Society, and we are the people that are a link between the people that will see the impact happening, and the local authorities, or the people specialized in nature-based solution that will implement the impact. So for us, being that link, we have to create with this kind of exercises. So in that sense, that's what we are doing. But when you are talking about really implementing the solutions, that's something that we don't do. That's something that's being done by the experts that know what architectural things they have to implement. We are just the communication channel, making sure that all the stakeholders involved have a clear communication about what needs to happen, but also for example, then the example that I give, the people that will live the impact of the native resolutions, that their opinions are also included before it's implemented. I don't know if that makes sense when I explain it this way.
I could understand your point of view, yes. So you are facilitating before the actual implementation happens, and so in that sense you use both terms more as a conversation between the two sides of the same project, if I understood you right.
Yes, indeed.
But thank you for replying. Thank you.
Gregory, I put some questions in the chat because it's too much noise here where I am.
Okay, no worries.
I can read it if you want. Don't worry. Arthur says, does participatory design inside these democratic network structures? This is the first one.
You mean if this included in the democratics? Yes, it is. I can give an example. I think for the two networks that I've presented, they have several meetings in which they also include people that are not necessarily in the network. So to have also other insights and to also make sure that it's not only like-minded people thinking of the same thing. So they have discussions, and the participatory design is included in those networks.
Okay, and the second question from Arthur is, do you have some good bibliographic references about this kind of categorization?
That's a very good question. I have not included them yet in the slides, but I will make sure to send them out to everyone also after the presentation, because I know that I've put a lot of information in my slide deck, but to make sure that it's also sourced and not only my opinion or the opinion of the organization, I will make sure to have it sent out to all of you. I don't know, Jose, maybe a break or
it's up to you, Gregory. If you want to have a small break, it's fine.
Maybe just 5 minutes, if then I can take some water.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect. Then I will go on. So what we have learned, of course, as organization is also on the differences with local and EU level, which is also one of the important elements of this presentation, is that yeah, of course, with the EU, you have different structures that give you the opportunity to build something, whether it's citizen assembly, whether it's a platform that's is working on a long-term goal, and which the important elements, of course, is the decentralization. You have the opportunity to work on your region, work on your local, on your city, working on your region, and also have the opportunity to, of course, build capacity and make sure that your insights are also integrated to policy. The challenges, I think that's more important. The challenges working with the EU, of course, is the bureaucracy. I think everyone here attending knows it. And for me, what I've noticed from my experience is the reporting intensity. Is the way that everything that you're doing needs to be known by the EU, which is what I've also heard and what I've noticed and what we've also gone through as an organization can be also very annoying, because you don't really have the sentiment or the feeling that you're impacting or doing an impact, and you're more interested or more working on just reporting. Like I said, the opportunities is to also solidify the structure that you're working on. And for example, also create transnational collaborations. I think with PlaceOut, we have a perfect example of this, that we are working with different European countries on one team. This gives opportunities also to learn from each other, to also challenge each other on different topics, on different things you don't agree with, but also to incorporate the ideas or the insights of other partners in your way of working. At local level, even though the resources are more limited than what the EU can offer, I think the community engagement is very important. You can be in contact with the immediately with the people you're working with. And I've noticed this with the Citizen Assembly. I've noticed this also with the like the exercise I've showed about LifePack, the nature-based solution. You can adapt, or you can submit your local knowledge also in the reporting, and also in the insights or the recommendations that you're working on. The challenges are most of the time the capacity and the resources. Local authorities don't really have much of the capacities that we want them to have, unfortunately. But it also, most of the time, it's also due to time and the power dynamics between the people from the local authorities that are executing the project, and the people that are deciding what needs to happen. So there we see also the challenges when we have worked on local level. But for me, the opportunities, and I think for the organizations when we have worked it, is you can really have build on reform on a local level, and make also sure to empower the communities you're working on, because when you're working with them, they trust you. They see you. They see that you have the best, and you have the best for them, and so they see that what's happening now can also will have an impact on their lives, and will have a positive impact on the places they live in. But this all, when I've discussed all the formats, all the exercises, the best practices, whether it's on local level, whether it's on EU level, it stands and falls with a good facilitator. I think I can say it enough. The facilitator is very essential to your process, and very essential to every process that you're working on, because they need to be neutral, but also to help the participants and the communities and the people attending, even if the people attending will not attend the whole process, or will not be participating in all process, they help the participants make a better use of the knowledge that they have, so that the knowledge that they have can be implemented in a report, in recommendations, in policy, in effective project management. But also the participants see them as a trusted third party. So it's very important that the participants have also the feeling that what they're saying, what they're conveying, what they're sharing with us is also something that's will be valued, like I said, but that it's also information that will not be misconstrued in the process or at the end of the process. And that's something I will also discuss later. The fourth point is also the power dynamics within groups. When you're working with groups, when you're on a high level, so when you're organizing the citizen assembly, or when you're organizing the design, or even other process, you don't immediately have the time or the energy or even the awareness to see what is happening with the groups, how they're behaving, how they're working. Has every person been able to share what they want to share? And therefore, your arm, or even your right arm, your help will be the facilitator, because they will see what is happening with the groups and how they can challenge the groups to give more information, but also challenge the more silent people in a group, within a group, to share what they want to share and give their insights. So here it's a model, and I said to, I forgot your name, to Arthur, I will share the resources of this later on. But this is a model that we, as Democratic Society, we have developed regarding facilitation in group. It's always important to, of course, to start with the input, the purpose, and to go back and forth. You have the process is on the yellow side. That's something that's often already clear for the participants. But during the process, so for example, during a citizen assembly, you will see that people have also their own lives going on. So there's the dynamic that you have to count on, the energy of and the emotion that you need to regulate to see why people are not reacting. Maybe last week they were very active, and this week they don't want to share anything. So that's important to measure also for a facilitator. Why it's important? Because at the end, the back and forth, the discussions, the content, the insight will also measure the quality of the outputs of the recommendations. And we are, of course, we are humans, and if we're not feeling well, if we're not being positive, if we're very negative during the sessions, there's not a lot of insights or a lot of important elements that will come out of us. So that's why we want to emphasize again on that. And here we, based on a model called the RG model, we also give insight to facilitators on how, when, and how they need to react. Of course, as you can read it yourself, it starts with observing, and it ends with like the test. So, sorry, it ends with, of course, recording. So this means that as a facilitator, did you also understand what the group wanted to say? What the things that you've written down, is that a reflection of what the group was saying? So during step 1 and step 6, you have to be very concentrated. You have to be on a high level of concentration to interact, to judge, to see, to intervene, to flag, to test. It's not a one-way street. It's most of the time a two-way street. So as a facilitator, you need to see, or you need to observe when to use one of those steps. And this begins, of course, with self-awareness, to see as a person what's your style of facilitating. How do you see yourself? What's your tone of voice? How do you convey yourself as a person? How do you speak? Your energy level, your self-confidence, before even being able to lead a group. And I've discussed this, and like I said, because like I said previously, we have been also working with what we call inclusion team, and during the different sessions, we noticed that when you make sure to include different people from different backgrounds, to make sure that their opinion is validated, make sure that what they say or what they want to say is also included in the recommendations, is also included in the reports. The reports will be also high level, and the missing gaps will also be included. And that's very important, because when you're working on participatory processes, these processes are needed to work on the missing gaps, the things that local authorities don't see, EU level authorities don't see. That's why they come to us, the youth organizations, the civil society organizations, the civic spaces. And for that, you need to know how and when to intervene when you're organizing those sessions. So for me, now it's more a time to have a discussion, to listen to your experiences, to see, also to receive feedback from you. Where do you see missing links? Where could the things that I've presented be helpful for you, your organizations? So that's the questions I would like to ask, and I would really have, I know most of you've been quite silent during the session, but I hope now to hear some more of you, to have more discussion, to have more insight from you. And yeah, you can, yeah, I think Arthur, I see your hand, you can speak. I think it's not needed for a chat now. I think we can speak and we can have a discussion. Also, I would like to know about your region and how the things that I've presented can be useful for you, and what are the challenges that you're going through as an organization in your region, and maybe how democratic society after this presentation can also help you and follow up on several things.
Okay, I will try my best. My English is not so great, but I will try to answer all these questions. I'm Arthur. I'm from Brazil, and now I'm living in Portugal. I'm doing a PhD research about the development of sustainable tourism in a specific region here in Portugal, and my role is to facilitate participatory design process to help the different kinds of stakeholders of this place to create a common vision about this tourism activity. Uh, I, I'm very close to democratic society. I know Domenico.
Yes, yeah.
I'm part of the civic design network, and I think that participatory process have a lot of, how can I say, it's not gaps exactly, it's something more related to mistakes that you have to avoid, like fake participatory dynamics, you know. I think that I would like to understand better, to hear more about this this line between a good participatory process and a fake or a not so good participatory process, you know. The way that we, as facilitators, as as facilitators, we can avoid some mistakes, some interventions. I don't know if I made myself clear, but
yes,
I think this is a good topic to talk about, because you show us some good examples, but I think that sometimes we can learn also with bad examples, with bad facilitations, or with bad participatory processes?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think what makes a participatory weak or weaker, if I can say it like that, is the fact that you don't adapt immediately at the request from the participant attending the participatory process. I give an example. For example, you have this process that you're organizing, let's say on climate, and it's like let's say for 3 months. So people are investing their time in their energy, but you see that for several time or several moments, the participatory process that you've designed has some challenges. People think it's going too fast. There's too much information. There's too much pressure for people to give their recommendation. So first of all, if it's that the example, it's very simple. For us, people organizing the participation or the participatory process is that if you're not in contact with the facilitator, if you're not direct always after a meeting or after a session, after a moment that you organize something, you're not in contact with the facilitator. There is no good communication. There is not good feedback moments on what has been happening, whether it's from the facilitator being truthful on what is happening, or on the people organizing the participatory not implementing the feedback. Then you will see that you will have a fake civic space. You will have fake recommendation. You will have fake results, because people, the attendees, or they will not come anymore because they will say, I've been investing energy, time. Most of the time, these participatory process are not let's say are in the weekend or are in time of when people are not working, and also in their free time. So they're investing energy, time, etc., and they see that the feedback they're giving concerning their frustration, because most of the time those people are passionate, is not being implemented. So the design is not being changed. The way of working of the participatory process is not being changed. Then you will see that the people will leave, or they will give input just to say, okay, I will just give input, and then then it's okay. I don't want to be bothered anymore. So it's very important. What I've noticed with democratic society is that you need to be really every day. I say every day when you're working on the participatory process, to implement the feedback that is coming up from the participant. Maybe go slower, maybe more time for breaks, maybe more time to listen for the facilitator to listen what is being said. Maybe a facilitator is not good enough. Then you need to change. You say, no, this facilitator is not good enough, and because this person is not good enough, our results will not be also high quality, or the people will not be able to say what they want to say. So it's those things. So the communication between people organizing the participatory process, the people facilitating, and also the flexibility to and the willing to change to change or adapt the participatory process. That makes for us, at least I can say like this, that makes for us that the results also truthful to what the group has discussed during the process. And maybe I can add to that is and I know during the presentation I've said it a lot of time, is what we add was really the inclusion group, because the facilitator most of the time they're with the groups discussing the results, they're discussing the team, they're discussing what the recommendation that they need to draft up. But if you have like an inclusion group, so people really seeing that, okay, group 1, group 2, okay, group 1 is okay, group 2, I see 2-3 people, they're not discussing, they're not talking, I don't know what's happening. The inclusion group or the inclusion people, you can go to the facilitator and say, yeah, I know this in your group, 2-3 people, they're not talking. Can you make sure that next time or next exercise, they say what they need to say? You can receive information. And then you can adapt also, the facilitator can also adapt her style or his style. Maybe he was not paying attention, maybe he was going too fast, maybe. So that's something we also learned, is to have maybe 2-3 people in the participatory process, just writing down, observing, talking to people. Oh, how has your day been? How has this session been? And then you have this input. You have the input about the content, but also the input about how people are feeling and how doing and experiencing the process. So that's something I can give as extensive answer on your question. I hope it answers what you wanted to know. There are other questions. Keep them flying, keep them coming. I think we've still a lot of time. I think it's nice to also have feedback from you, discussions, experiences, things you want to share with other people in the group here, or the missing links, maybe things that we haven't seen yet, that you have as organizations already have been through, and say, yeah, maybe for you, Democratic Society, next time you need to notice this, or you can implement this. It's also interesting for me.
Gregory, Bernardo again, sorry.
Yes.
I really like the way you are emphasizing the facilitator role. Also on your answer, your previous answer was quite clear. If the facilitator is not doing a proper job, you miss the sense of participation and ownership of the content. What I struggle the most, but I'm talking not from a place where you are working, I'm talking when you work between users of a potential service and the leadership of a company who is building a service. So you work with a more complex landscape, I believe, more political agendas, diversity of budget decisions is different from a business setup. But I was wondering, how do you translate? So if you do the design thinking exercise, and then
Yes.
you will have a lingo, a specific way of expressing the wish from that specific group that you're working with, how do you translate that back to your other stakeholders? Because my experience is quite often they fall through. You have a gap, maybe it's a missing link, but you have a gap of communication. You fall through those reports because you're forced to a specific format where narratives are not so welcome. You really need to describe the amount of users, etc. How do you deal with that distance? That's my current struggle, is how to translate findings from the field with the actual beneficiaries of a project and potential sponsors of that project. Do you have any experience on that?
That's a very, very, very good question. That's a very good question. You know what? It's a good question, because that's something as a organization, I think several organizations as us or as Democratic Society also struggling with making sure that the complexity that we are working on is translated well to the people that are benefiting of. For example, what I've shown you, the Life Pact, when we are working with the new nature-based solution. When you explain this, a lot of people in the city of Leuven, they ask themselves, what's in it for me?
Yeah.
What's in it for me? Okay, what are you doing? Nature-based solutions. They only see that the nature-based solution, the specific thing. So what will happen? The trees or the more greening situation will only be a burden for them, because they will not be able to drive through with their car. They will not be able to park on their avenue. They won't be able to do the things that they did for quite of time, most of the time 10 months or 1 year. So what that's we are working on as an organization. We have learned to really make the communication as tangible as possible. So that means that when we work, for example, we're working on Laugh Pact, is that we really show them, because of course we've already had examples, luckily for us, and we really show them, okay, this was what it was before, and those people that worked on this project and the citizens that worked on the project give those opinions to have this result. And the result is most of the time it was something very grayish, and then the result became something very green with plants and etc. So what we have done with the city of Leuven, for example, for a nature-based solution, you have something that is definitive, like something that will be done for the city and that will remain for a longer term. But you can also have something that's something for like a greener nature-based solution for 3 months. So we worked with the city of Leuven to have an installation for 3 months with plants in the same street that the long-term adaptation will happen. But now we did it with plants, but for like 3 months. So people have
just a prototype to have a feeling for the actual long-term solution.
Indeed. So people already had the feeling, okay, this is nice. Okay, this is what will happen on long term. Okay, this is the plants that they want to plant. Or maybe they will say, no, this is not okay. These plants I don't like. These plants you can have another situation, or you can, because people, most of the time, citizens that complain, or that I will say it like this, that they have opinions, are also people that are very passionate about the topic, and they will give their opinion immediately if you ask them, or even if you don't ask them, they will give your opinion. And then we have seen for Leuven, we have done this installation, and we've seen also that there was feedback, very good feedback. Yeah, this is great. We will see on long term. I think it will be nice. But you also had other feedback was that, oh, maybe you should use those plants, because those plants in the winter, ABC, or those plants in the autumn, ABC, or for example. So we really used hands-on prototype to have a feedback to translate, like you said, you use a very good word, to translate our ambition with the city into something very tangible for the citizens, so that they will understand what will be happening, and that Life Pact, with all the complexity, with all the language we often use, is just something tangible for the citizens.
Cool. Thanks for the answer. Very inspiring. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Gregory, Anna asked in the chat, she said, hi Gregory, any keys to use these participatory processes working with youth?
Good question. For the citizen assembly, we used also youth organizations to be implemented in the process, to make sure that their opinions were also valued and also validated. What I could say as keys, yeah, it's a good question, because also it's something, tackling youth is something, but we have also noticed quite difficult, because we also try to tackle youth that is underage, like say teenagers, because they have also opinions on climate, for example, on transition. But therefore you need to also tackle, or to also know where you can find them. For us in Belgium, for example, you will find them at I don't know how you say it in English, but maybe you will understand me. You will find them at the Scott. So Scoot, the youth. I think he can call youth programs or youth. Yeah, I will call it youth programs, and that's how, for example, with the Citizen Assembly, we try to reach out to them to have them included in the Citizen Assembly. Another example that I can give is we have worked with a museum called Technopolis in Belgium. It's based in one of the big cities in Belgium, and they are a museum working with youth. And we told them, and we worked together on a collaboration, and we told them we want to include youth in our reporting. We want to include youth in, we want to have their insights, we want to see how they see citizen assemblies. And there is a report on that, and it was published weeks ago, so I can also send you the link. So with them, Technopolis, we had the opportunity, because it's a youth-focused museum, we had the opportunity to work together and to establish also a report and to establish what the weaknesses are for citizen assembly, but also to having the opportunity to see what youth thinks about the EU level and the local authorities and their insights. So that's something I would like to share to you. I forgot her name, sorry. But I would like to share with you also later on after the session. So we can keep in contact on some of the insights that we have learned on this. Other things, of course, on a more high level, we are working with, of course, universities a lot. We have really great partnerships with universities, whether it's in Scotland, in France. We're also working with French-Belgian University, because we have noticed that universities really are keen to have the opinions of course, their students, but their opinions in collaboration with universities for us can also be useful when we want to reach out to the EU or to the local authorities and say that, yeah, we've worked with universities, we've worked with youth before, and this is the insight that we can use for this is the insight that you can use, including them and what they think about. But just to conclude, I think youth is something, it's quite difficult. I will be very honest on that, because even with citizen assemblies that we organize, we're still working also on the perfect formula to include them in our citizen assemblies.
Sorry, Gregory. I think that Anne wants to say something.
I just wanted to thank you
Yeah.
because it was so interesting what you have shared. I've been learning design thinking processes in university. That's why I was interested about it. And now I'm implementing that in some projects I'm working on. So yeah, with youth in universities as well. So
And I would also like to ask you your insights about working with youth. What do you think we as a democratic society can learn from maybe from you or from the things that you have seen? Because that will also be interesting for me to take away.
It's a complicated question. Well, I think that sometimes, for example, well, in my case, whenever we have used this kind of tools, it has been working quite well, and mostly when youth have we also have the opportunity to go outside and ask directly to people and have this kind of direct conversations. That helps a lot, and it's much more interesting and much more dynamic also.
Perfect.
So
Yeah.
I think that could work.
Perfect. Thank you. I've noted
Yeah.
this. I don't know if there are any other questions or insights. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, just one question, Gregor. I think you mentioned before you were sharing your material, right?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. And
Yes.
I took the freedom to connect with you on LinkedIn. I want to follow up some questions, but then I'm going
Perfect.
even more technical about it.
Perfect.
But thank you
That's
very much for the presentation.
Thank you for your question, Bernardo, and perfect to link up and to discuss even more afterwards.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thais did a question on the chat. Can you see it, Gregory? No.
Wait, yeah, I can see it. Sorry. You said a lot about the role of facilitators. Could I ask you if you have some advices about how to choose valid facilitators? Good question. Most of the time, for us, we work with, of course, with certified facilitators, but we and myself, I've also urged for that in the organization. It's not to only have the certified, to also give people that have experiences with dealing with communities. That's for me one of the important elements that I look up when I want to talk about someone who wants to facilitate is someone that has experiences working with communities, that knows how to handle different backgrounds in one group. That's for me very important. And we also work a lot with university students, because students, of course, they have time, but also they have some of the insights, sometimes insights that can be used in the context or in the team. If for example, your team is about healthcare, it would be interesting to have like a PhD student being a facilitator. One, they could really comprehend rapidly what's happening, what they need to write down, and what they need to work with. But also, when they're it's also interesting to see how passionate people are when it's about their topic. They don't really need much, let's say, money or something like that. They just want to be a part of the process and a part of the discussion, and also include, also learn about the insight from the people at their table. So that's something that I've noticed. It depends also on the process that you want to implement. If it's a very extensive process, of course, it's more important and more essential to also have more experienced facilitators, people that have done several citizens assemblies or design thinking or whatever. They are more experienced, because then they will be very at ease to have to lead the discussion, but also to write down the input that is needed. Otherwise, beside the working model that I've shown and a good training, I think a lot of people can be facilitators. But for me, the number one important thing is a person that has been in contact with communities, that can measure the group dynamics, can measure what is happening, the energy level. I think it's not to be very vague, but can measure the energy level of the group, can measure how the group is behaving and how to adapt itself towards that. Okay. I think we still have a couple of minutes. There is something will be interesting to. I see another question remark. Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you, Bernardo. See you next time.
Gregory, there's one more Arthur question in the chat, if you want to read it.
Yes, I would like to know if you you have had good or bad experiences having some of the locals as facilitator or touch point in participatory processes? No, I don't. I haven't. I think depending on the situation, on the context, you can use international facilitators or local, but I haven't had a bad experience with local. Most of the time, it's very good experiences because they're very trustworthy and they know what the context is about. So okay. Sorry, I don't think there is another question or remark. Then that's it for me. I can only thank you. I can only thank you for listening to me and giving your feedback. Like I said earlier, I'm happy to have a conversation. I'm happy to link. I'm happy to also link my other colleagues because they have quite a lot of colleagues that are also extensive experience. Will send out the resources that I've used. Make sure that you can also use them, also go through them and read them. And happy to answer any questions by mail if there are any, or even feedback. Always happy to receive them. I don't know, Jose, if you have anything to add, or Stefano.
I can add thanking everybody, remembering also to everybody that we are going to have the next two webinar about, in this webinar we talk about participatory processes. In the next one we are going to talk about communication and engagement activities, so are strictly connected, these two webinar. And in the last webinar, we are going to focus on one experience of regeneration of rural spaces, which is represented by the collaborative co-working experience. So thank you to everybody to participate to this webinar. The question in the chat, where I can find webinar videos, we are going to updating that in the Place Out website. So you will see soon in website of Place Out in the pages of the webinar that you can easily find at placeout.eu. Thank you again to everybody and see you the next week.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Gregory. See ya.